Well, thanks for joining us again. It's time for us to dive into the papers and look at stories that made it to the cover pages of the dailies. It's newspaper review. It's beautiful Monday, the 30th day in December 2024. Oh, well. Now, we do have the Punch, the Vanguard newspaper, Business Day, and some of the dailies we have virtually. We'll be touching on these dailies in the course of the program. I am Moses Humphrey.
And I am Chukwuma Okoro. Thanks for joining us again.
All right, then. So let's dive straight into it. From the Punch newspaper, the headline here reads, Niger border towns live in fear over brewing row. Communities in border states plead for peaceful resolution. Debunk Niger leaders' claim of French troops in Nigeria. Beside the masthead, CBN misappropriated 2.7 trillion naira interests on ways and means, and that's coming from the Auditor General. I know Chukwuma has something to say in this regard, because while taking this headline, he emphasized this one quite a lot. New Owobokun gets staff of office, begins rights. I brought you back to life politically. Wike slams Odili. Ex-US President Jimmy Carter dies at 100. And some more headlines here. FG sympathizes with South Korea as 179 die in plane crash. I think two people escaped that one, survived, but with injuries. Senate gets budget panel report January 31. In-laws definement. Lagos challenges convicted doctor's acquittal at Supreme Court. This doctor is back in the news again. Nigeria gets World Bank $1.5 billion for subsidy removal, tax bills. All right, so these are the headlines on the cover page of the Punch newspaper. We also have from our Edo station, we have Comrade Roy standing by. Yes, Comrade Roy. So I do believe that you've heard the headlines reeled out so far. But let me take some more headlines from Vanguard, and then we'll start touching on them one after the other. From Vanguard, Naira's slide threatens 2025 fiscal plan as CBN's forex policy flops. Budget rose 74% nominally, but shrunk 23% in real value. Wike to Odili, I brought you back to life politically. Global grief as 179 die in South Korea's worst plane crash. Azerbaijan asks Russia to admit shooting at plane before crash. Really? Sheyi Tinubu reviewing guard of honor, gross violation of military tradition. Atiku, Bode George. We'll talk about this one as well.
Yeah.
Competition between Dangote, NNPC, reason for petrol price drop. That's coming from Ipman. And we also have Tinubu meets with Egbe Omoeko. All right. Egbe Omoeko. That's a group of children of Lagos, or Eko, as it is. And yes, so these are the headlines here. These are the headlines. No ulterior motive in Nigeria's relationship with France. Yusuf Tuga speaks there. All right, so these are the headlines here. These are the headlines. So, Chukwuma,
All right.
where do we start?
Let's start from the Punch newspaper.
All right.
CBN misappropriated 2.7 trillion naira interest on
You can't wait to dive into that.
I can't
one,
wait.
can
I
you?
can't wait.
Go right ahead.
I was thinking you could get the meat of the. Can you get the meat of the story? Because
All right. So let's see now. Okay. So we hear that the CBN has misappropriated 2.7 trillion naira interests on ways and means. Let's go deeper into that story. That one can be found on page 21 of the paper. All right. So let's try to get a better understanding.
Okay,
of this story.
I have it here.
You do? Okay.
I have
Go
it
right
here.
ahead.
Now, the federal government has accused the Central Bank of Nigeria of misappropriating 2.72 trillion naira in interest payment from ways and means advances, raising serious concerns over irregularities in managing government funds. Now, the allegation was disclosed in the consolidated financial statement of the federal government for the year ended December 31, 2021, submitted to the National Assembly by the Auditor General, Shakachira with reference number blah 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 and dated July 31, 2024. The Ways and Means Facility, a temporary loan mechanism provided by CBN to government to finance budget deficits, is at the center of the controversy. Now, according to the report, the federal government claimed that the CBN retained interest charges amounting to 2.73 trillion naira using the funds for its sole benefit rather than returning them to the consolidated revenue
that is
fund.
The meat of it.
That is the meat of it. That's the meat of the story. This is not the first time. This happened during the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari. And you know, we're dealing with how much Ways and Means.
I can't remember the figure off the cuff right now, but
I think it's about 37 trillion or so, you know, whatever. And by the way, Ways and Means is like printing currency. And Emefiele is also at the center of the drama because Emefiele used so much money to print. In fact, the monies he used to print the naira are alleged to have been in excess of the naira printed itself.
Of course, yes.
You know, so if you had all this money to print the naira, to pay for the printing of the naira, that is in excess of the amount of naira you printed, why wouldn't you use that money to solve problems? Now, they were also collecting interests that amounted to 2.7 trillion naira, which
2.73 trillion naira.
2.73 trillion naira, which CBN used for its own special benefits without remitting them to the consolidated revenue account. And that is the way money from the FAC is shared. You know, it's supposed to have been shared because this is like money earned. CBN, being the lender of last resort, must have lent this money to some people, you know, some banks and all of that. And the interest that accrued to those banks, to those funds, now the CBN used those things, that amount of money for itself. Moses, is a good thing that this is happening. This is, I mean, we get to hear about government agencies, you know, come up to say, look, this is what a sister agency did. This is what another agency of government did. We are talking about ICPC raising the red flag, you know, that, I mean, Hajj Commission, Supreme Court, other agencies and MDAs of government have high corruption risks in them. The other day, it was the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, that came out to say, hey, 2.2 trillion naira was paid as ransom. And DSS invited him for questioning. Now we hear the Auditor General of the Federation saying, look, a certain 2.7 trillion naira, which the CBN earned as interest, was misappropriated. That's the word, misappropriated.
Misappropriated by the CBN.
By the CBN, because they did not use, they only used it for themselves and they didn't remit it to the national coffers. So what are we, it looks like the spaces, the civil service space is getting better and brighter, if you ask me. I mean, if you have all these revelations, sister agencies saying, look, what you are doing is not right. This is what you are supposed to have.
So there's a lot of checks and balances.
A lot of checks and balances. These are the kind of things that we should hear, not sister agencies.
But we know that the CBN largely we've seen directors being sacked. We've seen the people being reshuffled here and there. Do you think all of that is in a bid to solve this problem or to cover up?
One thing
I'm asking a question.
No. We are having a conversation. Okay. It's one thing to sack, you know, on that premise. It's another thing to prosecute. You know, if somebody steals money and you sack him, you have not damaged his career. You know, the person should answer questions to what happened while he was in office. But it's good that these are criminal cases. Individuals, I'm sure that Sarah will go to court very soon if it feels that, look, that an infraction has been committed that is against the Nigerian people. That is what we need people to do. Civil society organizations, they were more active during the military era. But what we see now, I think Serap is the only man, is the last man standing. You know, then we have Dele Farotimi that is standing too. We have Fisayo Shoyombo. We have a PDOM who was arrested. And David Hundeyin is on the run. We have Aisha Yusufu. You know, these are outspoken people. We need more of such people. People like Moses Humphrey can speak out and all of that we are doing now.
You know, we're having a conversation earlier. We'll go into that one. You know? Well, let's go to Benin now, where Comrade Roy is standing by. Comrade, I do believe you want to chime in on this one. Go right ahead.
No, the issue is very direct. That is the corruption in all of us. When you talk about misappropriation, we are talking about corruption. We are just using different adjectives to just represent it. No, it's quite very unfortunate. And to some of us, this is the nature of Nigeria. When you say it, people will say you should not say it. That a sister agency is discovering what is happening. It shows to me that there is not even a synergy among the agencies of government. And it's quite very unfortunate. You ask yourself, how do we even get to this level? How do we get to this level? CBN we misappropriate such volume of money. We are trying to give a coloration to it. That's why we are saying misappropriate. We can just say this money was stolen. People stole this money for their own personal benefit. That is what I see there. I find it difficult to want to be using adjective to do a coloration. To me, those resources you are talking about, those money were stolen by those persons who are there, and it's quite very unfortunate for us.
Roy, I think misappropriation is weighty too. Is weighty. You know, it's only the court that when eventually the case goes to court, they can now decide whether the money was actually stolen. At that point, you can now say about corruption and all of that. You know.
But let's look at this conversation around Nigeria, Niger, Rao, and border communities, border countries as well, saying, look, we don't seem to agree with a statement made by Abdurrahman Chiani, the leader of Niger Republic. Some of these communities are dissociating themselves from that statement. You do recall that on Christmas Day, he made it's indicting statements that Nigeria is in bed with France. Nigeria has given the French troops the go-ahead to establish military camps in Sokoto and some other parts of Nigeria as well. And it's being used to fight places, countries like Chad and Niger. Well, what are your thoughts on this one? Because these countries are moving away, dissociating themselves
from France. You know,
is it really possible? Some have said he was just trying to play on propaganda to garner support from Nigerians.
Okay.
You know, that's the position of some. Some have said, look, Nigeria should join in playing this propaganda. You know, go ahead and put information out there, because if you don't do so, this individual, Chiani now, might use propaganda and make Nigeria look like an enemy, because this also speaks to Nigeria's foreign policy. This speaks to Nigeria's foreign policy, which basically focuses on relationship with its neighbors.
Yes.
But how then do you marry that relationship with its neighbors and Nigeria having economic ties? Yes, some have said it's not military ties, it's economic ties. Economic ties with France, when France is having issues with those it's colonized that are Nigeria's neighbors as well.
And Nigeria is gravitating towards those people.
Yes.
I'm happy that you talked about. Let me start from the first. Now, the first is that these border communities will naturally live in fear. They will naturally live in fear because, for one, the Nigerian government seem to be more active in fighting insurgency.
Okay.
Because if you recall that the joint task force between Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, that was put together in the early days of fighting Boko Haram terrorists, was largely successful in the three countries except Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that Torij Bello is Nigerian. He was flushed out into Nigeria. Lukarawa terrorists, largely from Niger Republic, flushed into Nigeria. So the people that live in border communities don't seem to be comfortable with the fact that, look, Chiani is making this kind of statement. Away from that, if you look at what has happened in the past few weeks, you tend to, even if you don't concede, but there's some kind of nexus, some kind of links with what has happened, And the fact that an MOU between the Nigerian government and French Republic and the French government was signed. People are quick to say it doesn't involve military. But from what we saw, there is a military, you know, for them to come in, set up base here and ensure that, look, they rout out terrorists so that they will be able to implement the economic aspect of the MOU, which is to mine mineral resources in Nigeria. Now, if you again look at the fact that our military came out to say we have acquired drones, 3-4 days later, terrorists use drones. You know, and it's difficult to discountenance what France has done in Africa over time. You know, and they are clearly not happy that they have been pushed out of Africa, first in Mali, in Burkina Faso, and in Niger. And Nigeria, being contiguous with Niger, seems to be the best place, you know, for them to pitch their tent now and operate from that point, Nigeria. And you see that Nigeria has gravitated towards France. Our president has been in office for like 18 months. He's visited France for 5 times. You know, that should be telling. It should be revealing. You know, so intelligence people, that is the intelligence community on the other side, if you study intelligence, literature on intelligence, you know, not from the government side, but independent intelligence reports, you tend to believe what Shiani said, because looks like that is what it is. But it's a mere allegation, and it's good that the Nigerian government have come out to say no, to refute it. You know, this is not true. Now, when you talk about our foreign policy, Nigeria's foreign policy is structured along what we call a concentric circle. It radiates from inside to West Africa, from West Africa to Africa, then globally, in concentric circles, 3 circles. Now, the first circle is that within West Africa, and that is why Nigeria has largely played the big brother role in West Africa. You know what we did in Sierra Leone, we know what we did in Liberia, and all of that. Despite the fact that ECOWAS has, which was formed as an economic organization, has played more of a military responsibility in Africa, you know. So we've not been able to, the ECO, which is the currency, we trade more with foreigners. As of today, Nigeria's largest trade partner in Europe is Netherlands. It's not even France. That's what most people don't know. France is number 3. The first is Netherlands. The second is Spain. Now, if we have this concentric circle and we tend to ignore it, siding with our brother's enemy, what does that make us? I mean, your enemy's friend is my what? My friend's enemy should be my enemy, not my friend. But it looks like we are trying to be friends with our friend's enemy.
Well, looking at it from another perspective, economically, shouldn't Nigeria consider its own... I'm playing the devil's advocate.
Yes, I know.
For the sake of conversation.
Yes.
Comrade Roy, we'll come to you shortly. Shouldn't Nigeria consider its own growth? Okay. Regardless of how its neighbors feel. I mean, if we are talking about our mineral resources, you know, not being properly utilized or being properly mined and all of that, and there is reasonable investment coming from France to mine our resources.
France that has shafted our neighbor for more than how many years? But our neighbors.
We are a better, more organized country.
We are more organized. I like that word. We are more organized. We are more organized. In a small country, our neighbor was able to flush out terrorists and push them back to Nigeria. We have not been able to do that. Yet we are more organized. What again? You know, the fact of it is that it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say. There are so many things that people in government see that we don't see, but unfortunately, they don't let us see some of these things. And at the end of the day, we don't see what they saw. So it comes back to what we see as a people. I mean, France has been in West Africa.
Yes. If you're going to take the words of Abdurrahman Chiani to heart, if you're going to take it, then we should be a lot more concerned about the names mentioned there, because you know that he mentioned the names of the
DG,
NSA,
the former DG of NIA, National Intelligence Agency.
Yes, as being aware and as also being one of those that have negotiated the release of terrorists. And he also mentioned the fact that NSA Nuhu Ribadu is also aware of this involvement. So shouldn't we be concerned if you want to say, let's take his words and basically hold on to it as shouldn't we be concerned that there are individuals who basically sit in the hems of affairs of Nigeria's security architecture, and they seem to be aware of insurgents, and all of that happening within Nigeria and
exactly.
its neighbors.
And that's the discussion we are having, because some people tend to believe, and rightly so, if you put facts together, if you're able to put a thread into a needle, or you're able to sew these things, to form a piece that one can even wear. I mean, people are in government, and such allegations are made. Nobody is investigated. Nobody is brought to book. We have a foreign government release list of sponsors of terrorists.
Of course.
Yet, our government shields that list and is not public. And when eventually another list was made public during the Binance whatever, and they said BDCs, people that are in Bureau de Change and all of that, and we papered over it and moved on. Up until now, nobody knows what happened to those people. Were they brought to book? Were they arrested? Were they interrogated and all of that? So sometimes when certain elements in society say that, looks like the government is interested in what is happening about insecurity, you can't take it away from those people. Because there seems to be a nexus, like they said that when an owl cries in the night and a baby dies in the morning, you can't say that the owl doesn't know about what happened to the baby.
All right, Comrade Roy, let's have you chime into this as well.
I think my own concern about it, what have been our stake in terms of our foreign policy. We talked about our policy have been very profitable and concerned, because if you look, we went to Syria alone at the time, and we demonstrated a high level volume of resources. In that, then you ask yourself, what is the benefit? You look at those foreign countries, you look at the US, they are going to any country, they have their interest. They don't defend what they are just coming there to be the police of the world, the elder brother, as the case may be. They must have their own interest. And that over the year, Nigeria as a country have not been in where we are moving. And this is an opportunity for Nigeria for we to demonstrate that there is station. Any other thing that any other country we feel not supposed to be our interest as of now. Considering what we are doing, what is the life of an average man in Nigeria? Therefore, anything that will give us that, anything that will have Nigeria to be happy, I expect the Nigerian government to leave. This is not the time for we to be going to because we want to be massaging the ego of a country because you border, because you are close to us, because we are within the geographic world. We must find out those who manage us must be able to do that for us. If this man you just mentioned is trying to use propaganda for, they cannot be more propaganda oriented than us as a country. We must define our means. We must define, and our foreign policy need to be properly redefined so that we will not put Nigerians and Nigeria, any part of the world you are, you know that we have our foreign policy that is profitable to us. We cannot continue to be working up, acting as a big brother when within our space that we are not doing well. That is my position in regards to this matter. Thank you.
Last week, in about less than a fortnight ago, Niger Republic deported more than 600 Nigerians.
Oh, yes.
This same Niger Republic
yes.
that we are forming Big Brother for. Meanwhile, we have loads of them, hundreds of them, Nigerians here in Nigeria.
So it's up to us. It's up to us in Nigeria to deport them as well if they are here illegally.
Okay. So isn't that a breach of the ECOWAS protocol? Or is it because Niger has left ECOWAS?
Well, they seem to be aggrieved with the position of Nigeria and France.
Okay.
So they can't take decisions. And then again, at this point in time, you cannot hold the government of Niger accountable because you don't have a constitutionally established government there. What you have is a military junta in Niger. So should we hold them accountable? I don't think we should. Okay,
but we are responding to what the leader of the junta
Yes, because it speaks to Nigeria's position.
Okay.
Yes, especially in the area of security.
Okay. UK held Buhari and Idiabo responsible for trying to freight Umar Diko back to Nigeria. It was a military regime. Governments are governments. When you deal with a government, whether it's military or civilian, you deal with that government. Anyway, let's move on. It's a long story. It's a long story.
Well, this story, this one is not long. This one is quite short and of interest also. It's from the Vanguard newspaper. Sheikh Tinubu reviewing guard of honor, gross violation of military tradition. Atiku has chimed into this. Bode George chimed into it. Some Nigerians have said, look, it doesn't matter. But I think it matters. I mean, Sheikh Tinubu is not a designated state actor. And we are having him reviewing a guard, reviewing a parade. We are having parade held in his honor. They call themselves Nigeria Cadet Network.
Okay.
And we hear that some investigation has been carried out to show that, look, they're not even a registered organization within the military, Nigeria Cadet Network. But and the word, the usage of cadets, that's also being questioned. But should Sheikh Tinubu, should he be seen reviewing such? I mean, we've seen cases where he seems to be prepped up for bigger things ahead. I mean, that's pretty obvious right now. What are your thoughts, really?
Moses, my thoughts are very clear. The young man seems to be taking a lot from... he's both giving and taking at the same time, He's given a lot by... The first time he met on the scene was when he followed his father to the Federal Executive Council meeting, and his father gave him a stern warning, not to come here.
But did he stop attending?
Yeah, but we hear that he still attends.
He still attends?
We hear that he still attends. Now,
he followed his father also for the presentation of the budget.
Of the budget, exactly. And he also was at the swearing in of Kekere Ekun. You recall, he sat behind Femi Bajabiamila and all of that. And he's been using our presidential jet, to fly around.
To attend his polo.
In Kano. And we saw how government officials, from that state came to welcome him. That is giving a lot. Now, the people also, Nigerians tend to forget that the young man, being the son of the president, has a life to live. I mean, the fact that he's the president's son doesn't mean that he cannot attend a Supreme Court sitting or hearing. He's a Nigerian. You get the point?
I get the point.
Now, this cadet Nigerian military have come out to say, look, this cadet is not part of the Nigerian military. It's like, let's say that, Moses, you have a foundation. And that foundation more like empowers young men, young people, and part of the things they do is maybe to serve as a internal, how can I put it? That cadet, it's not formal.
Internal security.
Internal security. It is not
for events and the rest.
For events, exactly.
But then the usage of arms there. Now, when I watched
those things were there.
When I watched the video, I wasn't certain about if that was wooden guns or
exactly.
I wasn't sure.
That is one thing. But another thing that...
But what if those arms were actually, proper arms?
Then it will be a clear violation of the law. It will be a clear violation of the law. Another thing that got me worried is the fact that they had their uniforms. They had green, white, green, Nigerian flag. That's more like made it official. And they had their berets, red like the military police of the Nigerian army. And that was what gave Nigerians concern. So if people like Bode George and Atiku Abubakar are chiming into that, I'm not sure that they also know the background. But at that level, the handler should have given them updates on what that organization is actually, that it is not a formal military organization. But if you look at how Sheyi was even, he wasn't used to it. Look at how they were telling him, go this way. He's learning the ropes, go this way, go this way, go that way. If the thing was properly planned, they would have probably simulated it ahead of time. That is what it tells me. But in all, it is good to know that it wasn't a military quarter guard, like Nigerian military.
if it wasn't a military quarter guard and it's not a movie,
Okay.
should there be a guard of honor for an individual that is not a designated state actor?
Moses, if you have a
Should there
foundation,
be?
if you have a foundation that has Moses boys and you sew uniforms for them, and when you want to go and meet them, and they decide to mount a guard of honor for you, is there anything wrong in that? And they use wooden guns and all of that. That's my take on it, too.
All right.
That's my
Interesting take.
Eh.
Comrade Roy, what's your take on this one?
I only bother because of the personality involved. I will agree with Okoro that Nigeria is free to do that. You ask yourself before the president, was he always in the court? Did he attend all this program? That's the reason why we are bothered. How can this is a man we have seen and he moved on a presidential judge and nothing have happened? You know, there are ways all these things that happen in Nigeria. We are afraid a president that people will come and receive. These are eye service. These are points of corruption. These are sacrifices we always look for a way. Okay, what concerns you now will take a guard of honor. If you don't do that, will you also know? There are ways people just come up with things to must go. They are telling you that you are the son of the president, the office of the son of the president. Be sure you know it's not. Don't be surprised. Some person will also be attempt to go and lobby him. So we need sort of that will be seeing said that as the son of the president, I think I can also assume some position. You agree with me that it's a country that will be devil with eye service. The kind of how we operate is a eye service working organization where they see your face, the more they recognize you, the more you see the more they want to. That's my own concern about the issue. But naturally, in a country that is working, how many of those civilized countries have you seen in the Western world where the son of the president will not move and nothing will happen? And the military came back and said, those boys, these are mere cadets, they are not part of the military. That is also good. As Okoro said that if you have your Moses boys who you sew uniform, they can do this. We will not be bothered, but we should also be very careful and concerned about the whole matter. Say, this is the position you are occupying today. Your father is the president. Anything you say or you do will become news. If it was wrong, I go to my village, I read my boys and it will not be news because of the personality involved. That's why it's news. People will see Moses on the street now, will rush over because it's a TV. There are things you can no longer do. The whole world, they know you. And these are the issues we should be able to tell the son of the president that, my brother, take it easy. We know your father is the president, but take it easy with Nigeria. Thank you and God bless you. Dear.
We are Daily Independent now.
Okay.
We have some headlines here. 2025 budget, FG earmarks 55.5 billion naira for presidential air fleet. Proposes 8.6 billion naira to repair air navigational equipment. NSIB plans 2 billion naira for construction of Yola Delta offices. All right, so apparently we are not cutting down costs when it comes to the air fleet. We thought by the purchase of a very relatively new plane, we'll be cutting down costs. But with 55.5 billion naira earmarked for what now? Repair works. What then was the essence of buying something that is relatively new?
You recall at a point, the chief of staff to the president said that the plane was procured because it would be cheaper to maintain than others.
Yes, he did say that.
Okay.
He did.
Maybe we are seeing the cheap now.
This is 55.5 billion.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so let's take some more headlines still from the Daily Independent. We'll come back to you, Comrade Roy. Airlines not only cause of flight delays, cancellations, experts. Serap asked Tinubu, Shetima, others to make asset declaration public. We'll talk about this one, Chukuma.
Okay.
Nigerian Navy capable of building world-class ships, says CNS. Lagos government heads to Supreme Court over acquittal of doctor in sexual assault conviction. Investigation underway in South Korea plane crash that killed 179 people. Quite a terrible one, I must say. Wike replies, Odili says he lacks integrity expected of elder statesman. New listings, bank recapitalization shaped NGX growth in 2024. Market cap rises to 61.944 trillion naira. And then the bottom strip. Lagos to conduct LG poll in 20 LGAs, 37 LCDAs in 2025. APC. All right, so let's dive into that story. I'm going to pose this as a question.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to throw this one to Comrade Roy now. Comrade Roy, SERAP has come out, that's a Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project. You know, they've been one organization that is putting government on its toes and will always, you know, kind of give them the thumbs up for doing so. But they've asked the president to ask the CCB, or is it that's a Code of Conduct Bureau? Yes, that's CCB, to publish his assets, the president's assets, the vice president's assets, so Nigerians will know. I mean, these are things that are done before you get into office, but we don't see the publication of these assets. It's just declared. Do you think they have the moral, not the moral right now? Do you think they have a right to ask that the president's asset be published? And what do you think this is aimed at achieving? I'm throwing it as a question.
They have a right. If we have a society that is really working, you will let people who are managing your resources for you. This is not supposed to be an issue. You declare your asset and you make it public. These are not supposed. I remember the former vice president when he declared, former vice president Buhari, he declared and he showed it and everybody saw what it was. These are not even supposed to be. Well, it's a border country. This is what you say. You have declared. What does it take to make it? Let everybody be aware. All these persons you are talking about, are persons who have their own social media handle. So we should be able to go there and you get all those information and there. This is my network. This is what I have 5 wives. I have 3 children. You document it there. I have 3 cows. Some reside in some I know. You reside in there so that will also boost the morale of Nigeria. And secondly, that shows that you don't have anything you are hiding. And Nigeria will say, oh, these are persons who are in position, who are demonstrating currency, who are giving direct to the people that this is who we are. But when you declare it, everything is done in secrecy and you are not revealing to the people, how do we now know? As when you are living there, anything you are also going to be declared when you are living there, nobody will don't have what it takes to look at it. That's the reason why I will have appeal to them. Before it gets to this level, once you declare your asset, let it be public. Let everybody see it. And permit me also to quickly also comment on the issue of Wike, as in newspaper. Wike should also know that not all issue you reply to, otherwise you will be offending many people. I expect Wike to know that there is I have never seen an empire that remains forever. He will also know one of these days he will not also be in government. Don't be surprised tomorrow if President Tinubu decided to also say something Wike don't like. He will. And by the time he starts doing that all the time, he's not going to be on the good of Nigerians. I expect at this level of time, you have done, it's the only man in Nigeria now you can confidently say that he's eating his cake, he's having it. It has never happened in the world. Wike is the only person now who is eating his cake, he's having it. Nobody is in APC, is in PDP, and is managing everybody together. I expect him to be more humble, since he have done what another Nigerian politician have not been able to do. I expect him to be humble, not to continue to be replying, especially people you hit out to benefit from. All of a sudden, you are now hitting them back. It doesn't make sense to me. I will advise him to talk less, because by tomorrow, you might not be in that office. And I'm very sure that you will not be in that office forever. Well, this is all the less respected personality in this country. After being a former governor, the wife after being a Supreme Court job, we expect at least that family decides some respect. No matter how, no matter the pay, I expect him to maintain that level of decency and decorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I think, according to Comrade Roy, Wike has done what a king's horseman couldn't do. So he's eating his cake.
He's having it still.
He's having it still. Okay, but okay, back to the. Now let me start with Wike.
Okay.
Let me start with Wike. I think the issue of Wike and Dele now is quite uncalled for, if you ask me. My sincere opinion is that Dele, rather than taking sides, should have gone extra mile, to rally the elders of Rivers State. You keep talking to both parties, to Wike and, and for the fact that Dele has clearly sided Fubara now, he's gone against Wike, and Wike is going to fight back. I'm not scared of fights, but what I'm saying is that it is not good for the interest of the average Rivers person, And I think the elders of Rivers State have not done well, if you ask me. You have, I think this man is still alive, Nikki Toby. Nikki Toby was Dele's deputy. I'm not aware if he's still alive. We have J.T. Spiff, is Bayelsa, but he's resident in Rivers State. We have a lot of people. We have the Alaba Graham Douglas family. They still have people in that family. You have a couple of people, in Rivers that could come together. Because it's like they left the whole thing now to people like Wike, Amechi, Edison Ehie, Austin Opera, or what's his name again? Austin Opera, Omehia, and Secondus and all those people are within neighborhood of 63 down, to 45 and all of that. And they are hot heads, if you ask me. So I expected people like Dele that are in their 70s and all of that, more like the committee of elders of Rivers State, to wade into this matter, bring in people like Edwin Clark. This thing is gone beyond Rivers State. It's not a South thing. For them to come and wade into the matter, because the way it is going now, it might affect more things ahead of 2027. Not for the presidency, not for the national level, but for the people of Rivers State. Now, talking about assets declaration, the thing about asset declaration is that I think it has to do with the provisions of our laws. If you get into office, the law mandates you to declare your assets. But the law doesn't mandate you to make it public.
So that's why Serap is asking.
He's asking because, not just asking, it was the president that mentioned it during the presidential media that he might likely ask the CCB, to declare, to make his assets public. So if you want to talk about the essence of leadership, the value of leadership, the quality of leadership, to differentiate certain levels of leaders, certain types of leaders from the others, nobody prompted Yar'Adua to declare his assets and made it public. Right? So that's a leader. That's how we know a leader. So I think it's, will I say preposterous for the president, or what word should I actually use for the president to say, if I like, I might.
That was during the chat. So
during the chat.
I think that can be waved off.
Waved off. Yeah, okay. So he didn't make it as a policy statement.
No, it's not.
Okay, so
I would.
So it's on the strength of that Serap is now saying, like, look, now Serap is lashing on that to say even governors and all of that. But I think what Serap should do and what other people should do is to go to National Assembly and seek to amend that act. So that leaders, government officers, elected leaders will not only declare,
but make public
their assets. Most people don't even know. Asset declaration is not a big thing. When you go to a bank to take a loan, you declare assets. So it is not as if it's a big thing that I have you can declare, even if you have one Volkswagen somewhere, your bedroom, your bed and all of that, your television, those things could be your assets. You declare them. But I don't also know whether banks can make public an asset of declaration of somebody who has come to the bank to collect money from them. So what Serap can do with other civil society organizations is to go to the bank, so to go to National Assembly and seek for an amendment, for that clause, so that it will not just be to declare, it will also be to make public, so it will be in the public view. But I doubt if it will fly in the National Assembly, because it's more like
it will affect those.
It will affect those people,
But in declaring of assets, we know that. We've talked about this here before. That one can come and declare what they don't have yet.
Anticipatory.
Yes, anticipatory
declaration.
Yes, of assets. That look.
Not that one. People have done it. People have done it In Nigeria, people
So
have
how does
done
that
it.
even solve the problem?
So, if you make it public, people will now verify. Now that it's hidden, people can't verify. So, if you enter as a governor and you said, as at the time I became governor, I had 4 houses in Ikoyi, I have 3 in Matama, and I had 1 in Sabon Gari Kano, and all parts of, you had 1 in Bikwa, in Cross River State, and all of that. And people don't get to know. You now, before you get into, before you exit, you now go and acquire all those things. So when you leave office, people investigate and say, okay, he even declared this thing in his assets. So it's anticipatory declaration, which is not good. I think that is why Serap is saying, look, make it public so that Nigerians can even investigate.
Verify. All right, then.
And verify,
and
yes.
verify. Okay. Well, these are some headlines. Now, the issue of that plane crash in South Korea, we're talking about that one just before the show.
Sure, yeah.
Global grief, 179. That plane. You didn't see the video because
Such
gory things.
No, I don't.
But I watched it in the news, and it was really terrible. But there's another side to that story now. As Azerbaijan is asking Russia to admit to shooting the plane before the crash.
No, there are 2 crashes now.
Oh, there are 2.
One in Azerbaijan that killed 38 people.
Oh, okay. That's
then another one in South Korea that killed 179
talking
people.
about the South Korean crash, it's horrible.
It's horrible. 179 people.
The plane landed, was skidded off the runway, ran into a wall, and went up in flames immediately. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Moses, when I read the story,
that's a different one. Okay.
Yes, what actually came to my mind is the fact that, look, South Korea seems to be a developed country. This is by other standards. It's not just about what could have happened. It's about, how the disaster was managed. I think
I'll show you the video. You have to watch.
Okay, I'll have to watch the video. Because it's not just about how it happened. Accidents do happen, but it's about managing those accidents. Because you understand that in most international airports, you have fire service on standby. Not the kind of fire service some countries have where there is no hose, where there is no water in the hose. I didn't mention any country. I just said some countries. So I expect that South Korea would have been very, very active in reacting instantly, at least to save some lives. 179.
No, you need to see how it went up in flames.
Okay, so the fire overwhelmed.
It went up in flames immediately. It came in contact with the wall. So I think I would like to believe, well, like you said, fire service in some countries are nothing to write home about. But I know that even in those countries where they are nothing to write home about, fire service within the airport should be commended for their actions. Because the fire service within the airport seems to be different from firefighters
local fire
outside.
Service, yeah. Exactly my
airport.
Point. So why couldn't they douse this one?
No, this one was very, very. It happened immediately.
Okay.
So even if we hear that 2 people survived.
Okay.
But the death toll was really high.
Really
I think the plane had about 181 people, but 179 died. Well, let's come to Comrade Roy now. Comrade Roy, what are your thoughts on this one as we coast home?
It's a sad scenario. It was indeed a sad news for some of us. I think my heart go out to the people of the South Korea. It is an accident. There's nothing anybody can do. No matter how sophisticated you will be, no matter how prepared any nation, when it happens like this, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not time to apportion blame. As Mr. Okoro said that this country, in terms of civilization and development, that they are doing well. You cannot compare to some country. If we were some country, we can say, oh, well, because we know that they don't have water at that time. There was no light to power the borehole. But these are countries, on the side of this, we now resort to faith. It's God that have the power. It's only God that we can question on this. It is not as a result of human error, as the case may be. I don't want to believe that. I believe, let's just say, we're Africa, we take it to God. When things like this happen, we don't have explanation, we leave it for God. That's my position about that. May God console those who lost their beloved one day. Thank you.
All right, then. That's how far we can go on the show today. Big thanks to you, Comrade Roy Uriabo. Thanks for joining the conversation from our Edo station.
Correct. My name is Oribabo. I saw this. O-R-I. Oribabo. O-R-I-B-H-A-B. Oribabo.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, that's it on the show. I am Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day. Bye for now.
And I am Chukwuma Okoro. Tomorrow is December 31, end of year. Bye for now.